must taken that all questions and responses to himself and the joint authorities will be circulated to all members and published on the council website following the meeting. Well, that's the usual thing, but I've asked those present to ensure that mobile phones are switched off to silent. Could I remind everyone, and particularly members of the public, good evening. Oh, it's Mr. Long. You are a member of the public, Mr. You're most welcome. Meeting is being streamed as usual this evening. This means that the cameras may capture your image, and by your presence here you are deemed to be consenting to being filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting. Declarations of interest, usual rules. Does any member of the council wish to declare any relevant interest which he or she has in any item or issue before this council meeting? Members declaring an interest are asked to indicate the subject matter of declared interest, the minute number and page number to which the declaration relates, if relevant, whether the interest is of a personal, prejudicial or disclosable pecuniary nature. I would ask members also to give written notice of any interest declaring it on the form which is in front of each member tonight and hand it to an officer of Democratic Services. Item 2, minutes. Is it your wish that the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on the 20th of February be signed as a true and correct record? Thank you. Not many announcements tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I just really did want to say thank you for all of you for coming tonight. It is a necessary meeting. I want to thank everyone who is working to tackle COVID-19. Bury Council is working closely with its partners in the NHS to ensure that the borough's most vulnerable residents are given top priority in the fight against coronavirus. Bury Council is working with health colleagues to do everything we can to contain the virus and ensure the people of Bury are protected. It is also determined to ensure that vital services ranging from bin collection to social care will continue as normal. I just did want to say that I suggest respectfully that we get this meeting over as quickly and as efficiently and properly as possible, and we get back to doing what you all, and why I'm so proud of every one of you, whether no matter what ward you represent, which party you represent. I know you do what you do during the floods, during this. Go back, look after yourselves, your families and the people you represent. That's our big job, I think, over the next few weeks and months, and I know you'll all do it so well. I just wanted to indulge with a bit of a personal thank you before we carry on. It occurred to Evelyn and I sometime around about weekend that we were well and truly in the vulnerable age group. There are many other people who are vulnerable for other reasons, and I just wanted to thank Town Hall staff for the consideration they've shown Evelyn and I. It couldn't have been kinder. I won't name too many names because you always leave somebody out, but it would be Lynn, Julie, Jill and Audrey, whose first thought was for our well-being and safety, so I'm grateful for that. Thank you. So I suggest we get on with the business, get it over, and as I say, get back to our families, our friends and our constituents. In relation to the item public question time, this item has now been withdrawn. Questions submitted in advance of the meeting and the responses will be made available on the Council website. Item 4, recommendations of Cabinet and Council committees. Meeting of the Human Resource and Appeals Panel held on 27th of February 2020, pay policy, to be moved by Councillor Tariq.
Happy to move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. To be seconded by Councillor Simpson.
Happy to second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Are there any amendments or other motions? All those in favour of the motion? Please. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. Meeting of the Licensing and Safety Panel, 5th of March 2020, Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Vehicle Test Inspection Manual. To be moved by Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, this is an introduction of a regime at Bradley Fold where we MOT our taxis, the boroughs, Hackney and private hire. There's been some discussion for many, many months about what it is that's exactly tested. This document lays it out quite clearly what exactly is tested, how it's tested. It's very, very technical, very, very detailed, and I would urge members to implement the proposed vehicle inspection manual as suggested. Happy to move it.
Thank you, Leader. To be seconded by Councillor Simpson.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's only a minor one. I have read the inspection manual and we fully support safety. The only query I do have, it's on document pack page 85, is where it talks about after 10 working days, if your vehicle has not passed vehicle inspection, you will be required to book a full vehicle inspection at a greater fee. I know, especially with what is going on outside, and the taxi trade, I think, is going to be very important over coming weeks. And I think the council could potentially work with the taxi trade, whether that's helping people or having people go to work and things. So when we're talking about retesting, I just don't understand why we're saying it needs to be a greater fee. So on that basis, at the moment, I'm not happy with the report, but it's around the fees really, not the safety element. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor David Jones.
I'm not in a position to give my colleague a detailed answer. Suffice it to say that if it was a conventional MOT going on a conventional vehicle, the fees are significantly reduced if you have the MOT carried out on the day or very soon afterwards. And if you take your vehicle away from the testing station and have it done much later, then you will incur the full fee. That's on a private domestic vehicle. I can imagine that that's what this is reflecting, but it's actually trying to offer the driver or the operator a complete 10 days in which to do it, which I don't think private owners have that luxury. That's my guess, but that's the best answer I can give you.
Councillor Jones, I'll certainly let you come back on that if you feel... Okay, thank you. Are there any amendments or other motions? All those in favour of the motion? Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, perhaps I should have... as a Conservative group are abstaining, Councillor Jones. Okay, thank you. Meeting of the Democratic Arrangements Forum, the 9th of March 2020. Officer Delegation Scheme to be moved by Councillor David Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is really a document which reflects the changes that we've introduced into the council structure in recent months, and the Officer Delegation Scheme paper is needed to reflect those changes that we've already carried out. It's pretty straightforward, I would suggest, and it reflects a very efficient way of working.
Thank you. So we're seconded by Councillor Simpson.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Are there any comments or questions? Are there any amendments or other motions? All those in favour of the motion? Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. The meeting of the Democratic Arrangements Forum, the 9th of March 2020, meetings timetable to be moved by Councillor Simpson.
Happy to move that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Be seconded by Councillor David Jones.
Likewise, Mr Mayor, happy to second it.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Are there any amendments or other motions? All those in favour of the motion? Aye. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Motion is carried. Local Government Boundary Commission review to be moved by Councillor David Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Local Boundary Commission have required Bury Council to respond with evidence by, I think it's the 7th of May. This paper delegates that authority to what is effectively the Procedures Committee of this council. So it's the 4 leaders of the 4 parties, and I believe yourself, Mr Mayor, though I'm not sure about that, for us to make those recommendations on behalf of full council. Because of the time pressures involved, that's what we're required to do. So I'm happy to move that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To be seconded by Councillor Simpson.
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any excuse me, comments or questions? Are there any amendments or other motions? All those in favour of the motion, please. Aye. Anyone against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Item 6 is exclusion of press and public. Will someone move that? Leader?
Happy to move that, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor, all agreed?
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson.
Can we just have a breathe and just check?
Sure.